My beloved child, now that your steps are in motion with the wonder I have released, I want you to remain aware of the shift that is unfolding all around you. Every step you take from here is not random, it is guided, intentional, and soaked in the oil of purpose. You're not walking alone. You're flowing with a divine rhythm that I orchestrated before your life began. The movement you feel within your spirit is not just emotional or circumstantial, it's the breath of destiny awakening something ancient, something long promised, something sacred. You are no longer stuck in cycles. You are being ushered into a stream of progression that cannot be hindered. There are signs, subtle but powerful, that I will begin to highlight as you journey forward. Pay attention. Watch how unfamiliar paths become suddenly familiar. Notice how people who once brought confusion now bring clarity. Observe how time, which once seemed like your enemy, starts to favor you in strange and beautiful ways. These are not coincidences. These are the fingerprints of my involvement. I am making your ordinary moments holy. I am taking your mundane routine and infusing it with supernatural acceleration. Things that once required exhaustive energy will now begin to fall into place with ease you didn't expect. You might feel unqualified or undeserving for such favor. But hear me, your worth was never measured by your perfection. It was always rooted in my love. The miracle is not just what I'm delivering into your hands. The greater miracle is what I'm building inside you as it comes. Strength is replacing exhaustion. Joy is pushing out despair. Your voice is returning, not with tremble, but with authority. I am making you bold where fear once dominated. I am filling you with a courage that no storm can drown out. You are becoming resilient not because of how tough you've had to be, but because of how tenderly I'm holding you now. Do not be surprised when others begin to ask where your peace is coming from. Do not be shocked when people who once ignored your journey suddenly want to understand your glow. The miracle is not staying silent. It is speaking through your countenance, your responses, your decisions. It is shining through your forgiveness. It is visible in the way you carry yourself differently, even before the full manifestation appears. That's because something inside you shifted first. I caused the internal to blossom before the external broke open. And now, what I planted in secret is about to bloom in public. This is why I ask you not to rush. Stay steady. Flow with me. I am walking with you through each room, introducing you to things that will stretch your faith and deepen your understanding. This miracle is not a quick flash of blessing, it's a slow unveiling of my heart toward you. Every layer peeled back is a new dimension of trust. You will look back on this moment and realize that what seemed like a delay was actually a divine unfolding. I didn't just want to hand you something. I wanted to walk with you through the unveiling so that your heart would recognize my nearness in every step. And as the miracle continues its course, don't cling to old structures. I am building something new. Some of the relationships that fade now are making space for alignments that will serve your future better. Some of the doors that close suddenly are protecting you from distractions. Everything I allow now carries intention. Trust the pruning just as much as the promise. Because the moments of silence just as much as the shouts of confirmation. All of it is part of the movement. All of it is holy. Keep your heart tender and your spirit open. I will continue to show you more. The miracle is moving not only toward you but also through you. Others will taste hope again because of what you're carrying. So, stay expectant. Don't shrink back. The beginning has arrived and the story has just started unfolding. Every unfolding carries a mystery hidden beneath the surface, waiting patiently for the right moment to be revealed. That moment has come. What once felt locked away is now opening like a book written just for you. Its pages alive with purpose, detail, and divine design. Each chapter carries evidence that nothing about your path was ever random. Everything is woven together with intentional threads, chosen specifically to guide you into this very hour. The waiting wasn't an empty pause, it was a sacred setup for what's now blooming in real time. You may have noticed subtle shifts, conversations that echo with deeper meaning, emotions that once overwhelmed now settling with unusual calm, and decisions that once seemed daunting suddenly becoming clear. This is what it feels like when my hand gently turns the next page of your journey. Not all stories begin with loud declarations. Some begin with quiet assurance that something greater is underway. You're in one of those moments. What you sense around you, this stirring of the atmosphere, is me unveiling what I've long prepared, not with noise, but with a deep and holy confidence. Don't be alarmed if certain people no longer seem aligned with where you're headed. Sometimes, as the narrative progresses, characters exit so new ones can enter. What I'm unfolding now requires space for truth to take root. Not everyone can understand the depth of what you carry, and that's okay. Let go with grace. I will surround you with the right voices, those who reflect the season you stepped into, not the one you left behind. And in doing so, I will protect your progress from the weight of old expectations. You're no longer wandering through uncertainty. You're walking through a field where seeds are breaking through soil, seeds you didn't even remember planting. Promises you once whispered into the night are now pushing through layers of resistance, making their way into daylight. And even though the full picture hasn't yet appeared, what you're witnessing is more than a glimpse. It's the living confirmation that movement has begun. The unfolding has a pace, and it's picking up momentum with every act of obedience you choose. This isn't just about fulfillment. It's about transformation. What's forming in your character is just as powerful as what's coming into your life. I'm shaping the way you listen, how you perceive, and how you respond to what's unfolding. Wisdom is becoming your companion, not just for the days ahead, but for the decisions that follow. You'll start recognizing doors by the peace they carry rather than the pressure they bring. The clarity isn't accidental, it's the fruit of letting me walk with you page by page, rather than rushing ahead in fear. Keep your eyes open for signs that speak louder than words. An unexpected opportunity. A moment of clarity in the middle of your confusion. A sense of strength when you should feel exhausted. These are not coincidences. These are sacred markers, designed to remind you that you are on schedule, even when the route looks unfamiliar. You are not late. You have not missed anything. What is unfolding is perfectly timed, measured not by the clock, but by the readiness of your heart. The chapters ahead will ask you to trust deeper, speak bolder, and love without walls. You won't need to strive for what's next. You'll be drawn toward it naturally, just as rivers flow without needing maps. Follow that flow. Let the narrative take its course, and don't fear the unknown. Every story I write ends with redemption, and yours is no exception. Even your scars will find their place in the story, not as reminders of pain, but as symbols of the healing that walked with you through it. So, breathe in what's beginning. The shift is real. The atmosphere has changed. The unknown no longer threatens, it invites. You're not clinging to the past anymore. You're embracing the promise of something greater, something only I could design, something that's been moving in your direction long before you realized it. And now, the unfolding is unstoppable. Momentum has taken root. What was once still has begun to stir with undeniable force, and no resistance can hold it back. What's advancing toward you now is not fragile, it carries the strength of eternity behind it. The hesitation you used to feel is dissolving, not because everything makes sense, but because a quiet certainty has taken its place. You may not have every detail, but you no longer need to. What matters most is already in motion, and what's arriving doesn't depend on human timelines or approval. It's being delivered by something far greater than logic, by divine authority. This kind of movement doesn't ask permission. It doesn't knock gently. It pushes past delays, leaps over boundaries, and breaks through walls meant to contain it. You don't need to understand how, it's enough that you sense the shift. The invisible has gained form. The promise has picked up speed. Answers that once felt distant are drawing close, carried by unseen hands working tirelessly on your behalf. Though it may appear subtle on the outside, everything underneath is surging with energy that cannot be paused. There's a reason for the acceleration. I'm preparing you not only to receive, but also to sustain. What you're stepping into requires maturity, not just excitement. I'm teaching you to remain grounded when favor finds you. This isn't about brief flashes of joy, it's about a long-lasting flow of transformation. One that doesn't fade after applause ends, but grows deeper when no one's watching. You're being equipped with insight that protects what's about to flourish. Every experience, every detour, every closed door serve a purpose. Now you'll begin to understand why certain opportunities slipped through your fingers. They weren't refusals, they were redirections toward something better. If you had settled then, you wouldn't have room now. And you need space, because what's coming won't be small. It's bigger than what you asked for. It's richer than what you imagined. And it's stronger than what tried to break you. Your confidence will no longer be built on past outcomes. It will rise from a new place, a deep knowing that what's flowing now is untouchable by doubt. You won't need to convince anyone. The unfolding will speak for itself. Those who once questioned your path will witness outcomes that only I could produce. And they'll be silenced. Not by your words, but by the evidence that favor never left you. It was just gathering strength. There's still more to come, but the unstoppable part has already begun. You'll see it in the way doors open without knocking. You'll sense it in conversations that confirm what your heart already heard in secret. You'll walk into places where you feel like you've been before, even though you never have, because your spirit arrived long before your body did. It's the power of divine acceleration. It places you ahead without rushing. It positions you without striving. No one can claim what's meant for you. No delay can outpace destiny when I've decreed forward motion. What you lost before will not compare to what is being restored now. Not in equal measure, but in overflowing abundance. What once slipped away is returning with interest. And what once drained you will now refresh you. You're not chasing, you're attracting. Not through performance, but through alignment. As you remain in step with the flow, everything begins to respond. This momentum will not stop for doubt. It will not wait for everything to feel perfect. It moves at the pace of trust. And you're walking in trust now. You've surrendered control. You've released fear. You've let go of trying to manipulate outcomes. That surrender has unlocked an entirely different kind of breakthrough, one that's smooth, sustained, and secure. Don't look back. Don't question what's unfolding. Just keep stepping forward. Every movement, every alignment, every interaction from here on carries weight. Nothing is empty. Everything is part of the story, now moving faster than ever before. The path ahead will continue to unfold, not with chaos, but with divine flow. And you, chosen and steady, are right in the middle of it. This position you've stepped into isn't accidental, it's a sacred placement. You've been strategically positioned for something that exceeds understanding. Though the road behind was marked with challenges, it served a critical purpose. It refined your discernment, sharpened your awareness, and stripped away distractions. Now, you stand in alignment not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And this alignment is attracting things you didn't even know you needed. There's a quiet power in standing firm. You're not chasing anymore, you're anchoring. Stability is your weapon now. Where you once reacted, you now respond with wisdom. Where anxiety once ruled, peace has made its dwelling. You are learning how to carry calm even when the environment doesn't echo it. That is a mark of maturity, a fruit born from hidden growth that no one saw, but heaven recorded. With each passing moment, invisible forces are drawing together, details you couldn't orchestrate if you tried. Timelines are merging. People are being prompted. Opportunities are surfacing that require no striving on your part. This is not the result of effort, it is the evidence of divine orchestration. You are being drawn into something that has waited for your readiness. And now that readiness is evident, not because you have it all figured out, but because your heart has shifted from resistance to surrender. This surrender is not weakness, it's strength cloaked in humility. It's the understanding that destiny doesn't demand perfection, only openness. And in your openness, a clear signal was sent to heaven. You're prepared. That signal activated movement, not just in the atmosphere around you, but in the architecture of your future. Structures are being built around the steps you're about to take. Places you thought were far off are closer than you imagined. and each one has been quietly tailored to match the design etched into your spirit. You will begin to notice ease where there once was effort, not because the journey is without resistance, but because you are now carried by a current greater than willpower. You're walking in the slipstream of favor where things happen not by striving, but by timing. Divine timing. You'll meet people who speak words you needed but never voiced. You'll be offered options you never knew existed. And in each case, you will know they are not coincidences, they are confirmations. While others may still be running in circles, you will find yourself stepping forward with certainty. That certainty won't come from outcomes, it will come from inner alignment. Your spirit has begun to vibrate in tune with purpose, and that vibration is attracting resources, relationships, and revelations that match your true frequency. This is not just about elevation, it's about embodiment. You are becoming the version of yourself that heaven envisioned all along. As this continues to unfold, be mindful not to shrink. Favor has a way of intimidating those who've grown used to struggle. But you were never meant to live under limitation. You've been invited into expansion-wide, wholly unstoppable expansion. And as you grow into that space, you will realize you no longer need to apologize for your blessing, your clarity, or your peace. They are not accidents. They are assignments. And you are equipped to steward them. Hold your head high, not in arrogance, but in awareness. You're walking in purpose now. Each step is sacred. Each encounter is meaningful. Each silence is pregnant with revelation. This is not the same road you've walked before. The terrain has shifted. You've crossed an invisible threshold, and nothing familiar can follow you here unless it has been refined. Stay rooted in truth, and the path will continue to unfold. Not all at once, but layer by layer, piece by piece. It will build into something that reflects not just my promises, but also the growth you've undergone to receive them. This is the middle of movement. This is what it feels like to be in flow with destiny. The rhythm of alignment has a sound all its own, one that doesn't depend on applause or recognition, but on deep inner confirmation. You're hearing it now, even in the stillness. It hums beneath your decisions, whispers through your intuition, and pulses through your every interaction. This is not imagination, it's the steady cadence of being exactly where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there. No striving. No second-guessing. Just motion wrapped in peace. Doors are no longer things you need to knock on, they're sensing your arrival before you even approach. The atmosphere around you is responding to your preparation. Not the visible kind, but the preparation that took place in the unseen moments when you chose integrity over convenience, patience over panic, and hope over hesitation. Those private choices created a magnetic field around your life. Now, the right things are being pulled toward you with unmistakable timing. In this current, you'll begin to feel an unfamiliar ease, not because things are effortless, but because you are no longer resisting the process. Where pressure once overwhelmed, now purpose carries. You're not pushing against closed gates, you're walking through openings specifically carved for your feet. That path may still feel narrow at times, but it's precise. And precision is a gift. It spares you from distraction. It keeps you in proximity to what actually matters. You're entering environments that are different not because the scenery has changed, but because you've changed. What once intimidated now inspires. What used to drain you now drives you. This isn't a shift in circumstances alone, it's a shift in posture. Your capacity to perceive what's for you has expanded, and with it, the weight of your presence has increased. People feel it. Spaces adjust to it. Even time bends around it. Not everyone will understand this evolution. Some may question the glow they can't explain. Others may try to reconnect with older versions of you that no longer exist. Let them. You don't need to defend what has been divinely developed. Your energy now speaks louder than explanation. You've crossed into a new season, and your only responsibility is to remain faithful to what's unfolding, not to those who failed to recognize its value. This is also a time of refinement, not correction, but calibration. As clarity increases, so does your sensitivity to what aligns and what doesn't. The words you speak will hold greater weight. The silence you keep will carry deeper meaning. You're no longer wasting energy trying to fit into spaces not tailored for you. You are learning to honor your own atmosphere. That awareness is not pride, it's stewardship. Watch closely as long-awaited connections begin to surface. These aren't just relationships, they are partnerships, alignments, and divine intersections with purpose embedded in them. They will not require persuasion or pretense. You'll recognize them by the peace they bring and the acceleration that follows. These are the people whose spirits recognize yours without performance. Together, you will build things that carry eternal significance, not temporary validation. As each day unfolds, expect small signs that speak volumes. A sudden sense of joy without cause. A moment of insight that solves what confusion clouded. A conversation that opens doors to opportunities not yet imagined. These aren't random, they are clues, confirmations that you are traveling through a story authored with precision. And that story is picking up pace. The beauty of this moment is that you no longer need to predict or control. You're no longer desperate for timelines or signs. You've come to trust the one writing the script more than the outcome itself. That trust allows you to rest in the unknown and move forward anyway. You are not walking in fear. You are walking in rhythm. This is what flow looks like: consistent, intentional, free of force, full of grace. The pressure is off. The striving has ceased. You are now participating in the fulfillment of promises that once felt like distant hopes. The very atmosphere surrounding you confirms that the time is not just near, it is now. And you are ready. Readiness isn't always accompanied by a grand announcement. Sometimes it settles in like the morning light, quiet, sure, undeniable. You feel it now, not as a surge of excitement, but as a deep, immovable knowing. The preparation was long. The testing stretched you. But what remains is pure, resilient, and grounded. It no longer matters how long it took or how many detours came along the way. What matters now is that your posture has shifted, and the environment around you is shifting with it. You're entering territory you've never walked before, yet somehow it feels like home. That familiarity isn't based on past experience, it's anchored in destiny. Your soul recognizes what your mind is just beginning to understand. This space, this season, was always meant to welcome you. Every step forward confirms it. Nothing is forced. Nothing is rushed. You are simply stepping into what had been preserved for you all along. A change won't always come with flashes of attention. In fact, some of the greatest movements now will happen in silence. Quiet breakthroughs, unseen alignments, delicate moments that hold great weight. And you will learn to cherish those moments even more than the loud victories. Because in the quiet, you will hear guidance more clearly. In the quiet, you'll feel the presence that never stopped surrounding you. This readiness also brings responsibility, not one of burden, but of honor. You are now carrying something sacred. Insight that others may not yet see. Peace that others are still searching for. Your presence will become a refuge, not through force, but through authenticity. As you remain true to what has awakened within you, you'll create space for others to awaken to. The way you live will begin to reflect what can happen when surrender meets divine timing. There's no need to rehearse old patterns. They no longer fit. Even the ways you used to protect yourself, guard your heart, or shrink back from opportunity have expired. This is a new framework, one where discernment leads, grace sustains, and wisdom shapes every movement. You're not trying to survive anymore. You're learning to thrive with purpose, with confidence, with peace. Momentum is now joined by clarity. You'll begin to know what to release and what to embrace without second guessing. The fog is lifting, and with it, the weight of indecision. Answers will meet you in real time. What once took days to process will now become instant recognition. Not through effort, but through alignment. You are tuned in, receptive, awake to the signals heaven is sending you daily. Opportunities are on their way, tailored not just to your talents but to your character. Doors are being drawn to the sound of your growth. You're no longer seeking to fit in, you're here to build, to shape, to leave a mark only you can leave. And in that purpose, there is no competition. There is only fulfillment. The kind that comes when you know you are exactly where you need to be. Those around you will feel the shift even if they can't name it. They'll notice something different in your silence, your laughter, your presence. Some will come closer out of curiosity, others out of hunger. Be gentle. Be wise. You are not here to convince, you are here to reflect what happens when alignment meets divine flow. Continue to move forward, not by chasing what looks impressive, but by following what feels true. Truth will always lead you to peace. Let that peace be your compass. It will not fail you. In fact, it will guide you through invitations and distractions alike. You'll know the difference, not because of fear, but because of stillness. This is your space now. Not borrowed. Not temporary. It's the ground you were made to stand on. And as you keep walking, more will unfold, not because you're striving to earn it, but because it was always yours. You're not late. You're not behind. You're right on time, right on track, right where you're supposed to be. There's something powerful about standing in sync with the rhythm of your appointed moment. No longer anticipating a beginning or fearing an end, you are present, grounded, and engaged. Time, which once felt like a threat, now feels like a companion. It's not chasing you anymore. It's walking beside you, lining everything in its path. Each hour holds significance, and every passing day is building towards something intentional. You don't have to run anymore. You're not missing out on anything that belongs to you. What's meant for you cannot be interrupted or replaced. Every opportunity crafted for your journey is marked with your essence. It won't recognize another name. It won't respond to a substitute. It knows your heart, your preparation, your spirit. It is drawn to you by design. Others may try to rush ahead, comparing timelines or measuring success by noise. But your steps are deliberate, and that makes them powerful. Pace matters. When you walk in step with what's unfolding, you move with authority rather than anxiety. There's no need to look over your shoulder or second-guess the process. You're no longer proving anything. You're simply revealing what's been planted inside all along. You've been entrusted with clarity, not just to see where you're going, but to recognize what's unnecessary to carry. Lightness will become your advantage. Simplicity will be your secret strength. No clutter, no chaos, no confusion, just intentionality. This freedom didn't come cheaply. It was bought through seasons of shedding, trusting, and surrendering what no longer served your growth. As you move forward, don't underestimate the quiet power of presence. The way you show up now has changed. You no longer enter spaces trying to be noticed. You arrive knowing you bring value. This awareness changes everything. It shifts the atmosphere around you. You won't need to speak loudly to be heard. The calm you carry will speak on your behalf. Prepare for unexpected affirmations, moments when something inside confirms what you suspected all along, that you are exactly where you need to be. Someone may speak words that echo what's been stirring in your heart. A path may open in the most unlikely place. Provision may arrive before the need is even spoken. These aren't random events, they're signals. Markers. Proof that alignment is not just an internal state. It has visible outcomes. Let trust become your default response. Not because every step is easy, but because every step is covered. What's ahead will require constant reassessment. The clarity you've been given is strong enough to sustain momentum. You don't need a new sign every morning. The direction has already been made clear. Now, all that's left is movement. Steady, purposeful, undeniable. There will be moments when emotions try to mislead you, when fear masquerades as logic or hesitation pretends to be wisdom. But you'll know better. You've learned to separate temporary feelings from lasting truth. You'll feel the difference between a fleeting urge and a divine prompting. That discernment is one of the greatest tools you now carry. Let this next part of your journey unfold without forcing outcomes. Let it surprise you. Let it stretch you. Let it draw beauty from places you least expect. The best parts are often the ones you didn't see coming. Stay open. Stay rooted. Stay responsive to the gentle pull of grace. This chapter doesn't require frantic energy or a loud entrance. It requires consistency, receptivity, and awareness. Stay faithful in the small, and you will watch the bigger picture form with precision. There's no need to anticipate disappointment. Your path is not built on shaky ground. It is being established stone by stone, and each one is firm beneath your feet. So breathe into this moment. Let your shoulders relax. Let your soul be still. You are not behind. You are not early. You are walking the exact path that was written for you before you knew how to dream. Every step from here on will echo with divine intention. You haven't been forgotten, you've been guided. And now, you are walking in the fullness of appointed time. There is something sacred about timing that no human hand can orchestrate. When everything begins to converge, the unseen efforts, the unspoken prayers, the inner shifts, it produces a moment unlike any other. You stepped into that moment. It may not look extravagant on the outside, but deep within, something irreversible has taken place. The scales have tipped. The balance has shifted in your favor. Invisible forces have been activated, and what once felt distant is now unfolding around you without resistance. This is the realm where grace no longer feels abstract. It becomes tangible. It supports your every step, holding you steady as you navigate unfamiliar spaces. What would have once made you anxious now stirs anticipation. You're not hesitating anymore. You're not retreating when uncertainty appears. You've tasted something far too real to let fear reclaim ground. The awareness you carry now is stronger than hesitation. It fuels your forward motion. Don't underestimate how much has changed. Though the scenery may feel familiar, you're not the same traveler who began this journey. Your inner landscape has been remodeled. The thought patterns, emotional reflexes, and old insecurities that once shaped your responses no longer have authority. They've been replaced by a quiet inner resolve that doesn't need to shout. It simply stands unshaken, rooted, and responsive to truth. Every new step may come with decisions, but now those choices are informed by wisdom born from seasons of waiting, loss, and perseverance. You've been refined not through comfort, but through endurance. That refinement has become a shield, deflecting distractions and keeping your eyes fixed ahead. You won't be swayed by temporary glitter. You're drawn to authenticity, to lasting fruit, to outcomes that carry substance rather than appearance. As you move deeper into this unfolding season, be mindful of the peace that wraps itself around your moments. This peace isn't passive. It's active, alive, intelligent. It alerts you when something doesn't belong. It guides you when the path ahead splits. It comforts without needing to explain. You'll begin to sense its voice before decisions are made. Trust that leading. Let it direct you through the noise, through the pressure, through the invitations that seek to pull you off course. You're not here to chase what others call success. You're here to fulfill a mission that only your hands can complete. The impact you carry isn't always loud. Sometimes it moves like a whisper, subtle, intentional, unforgettable. You'll leave fingerprints on lives that may never know your name, but they'll feel your presence in their breakthrough, in their healing, in their clarity. That's the power of walking in divine timing. It multiplies beyond what you can measure. There's more ahead than what you're currently seeing. This moment is not the climax, it's the entryway, and it was never meant to be rushed through. Pause here. Look around. Feel the significance. Soak in the reality that everything you're walking in now was once only a hope you barely dared to hold on to. Now it's real. Not in full, but enough to show you that the promise is alive and active. Let gratitude guide your thoughts. Not as a duty, but as a response to the beauty blooming in and around you. Grateful hearts are fertile ground for more. They attract provision, deepen joy, and multiply peace. You don't need to perform to maintain this flow. You only need to remain aware of how sacred it is to be walking in step with something eternal. There will be invitations to look back, to question if you've truly advanced. But the proof is all around you in the way you speak, in how you listen, in what you're drawn to. The old version of you couldn't handle what's here now. But this you, this present, rooted, open you is built for it. You're equipped for what's coming, not because of perfection, but because of presence. Continue walking not with rush, but with reverence. The fullness of time isn't a fleeting moment, it's a rhythm that continues to guide you. You haven't arrived at the end. You've stepped into a flow that will carry you far beyond what you once imagined. Stay in it. Trust it. It knows exactly where to take you next. The direction may not always come with maps or mile markers, but certainty will rise in ways you can't ignore. That gentle pull, that nudge in your spirit, that moment of unusual clarity, it's all part of the guidance you've now become sensitive to. You're being led by something far beyond instinct. This is deeper than intuition. It's an internal compass that doesn't waver when conditions shift. You've tuned into something sacred, and it's unfolding your journey in perfect order. At times, you may not see the next turn until you're already in motion. That's part of the design. It's not hesitation, it's precision. When the time is right, the path reveals itself. A moment sooner, not a second too late. You're not meant to figure everything out in advance. You're meant to walk in step, one clear moment at a time. That's where trust becomes strength, not as a fallback, but as a foundation. The way forward won't always be grand or dramatic. Sometimes it will appear as a quiet invitation, a door left ajar, a phrase in a conversation, an inner peace you can't explain. These subtle moments are not to be dismissed. They are divine indicators, clues pointing toward your next assignment. Your responsibility isn't to understand everything immediately, it's to remain sensitive, willing, and alert to the unfolding. There's something powerful happening under the surface. You can't see all the pieces just yet, but that doesn't mean they aren't in motion. Invisible threads are weaving through people, places, and opportunities, tying them together until the right moment brings them to the surface. These moments aren't delayed, they are maturing. What's ahead requires a level of readiness that only patience can produce. And in the meantime, transformation is happening within you. Not the loud, attention-grabbing kind, but the steady, unshakable kind that can't be reversed. Your thoughts are clear. Your heart is lighter. The lens through which you view challenges is no longer fogged by fear. You're learning how to interpret obstacles not as threats, but as transitions. That's not just growth, it's evolution. As you continue walking, be mindful of distractions disguised as detours. Not every open door is meant to be walked through. Not every opportunity is a confirmation. Some things will look appealing on the surface but lack the depth required to sustain you. Don't be afraid to walk away from what doesn't resonate. Peace is your permission slip. If it's not present, neither should you be. There will be invitations that stretch you, and you will know the difference. These are the ones that won't drain your energy but will activate new levels of strength. They won't pull you off course, they'll deepen your capacity. These are the moments to lean in, not with fear, but with expectancy. You're no longer stepping out blindly. You're stepping forward with awareness. Keep your ears tuned to the language of purpose. It often speaks through what moves your spirit, not what captures attention. It whispers in moments of stillness. It confirms in waves of peace. It aligns in ways that logic can't always explain. As you keep following that rhythm, you'll notice something unexpected. Joy that doesn't need a reason, clarity that doesn't need confirmation, and a confidence that no longer needs applause. You are no longer searching for direction, you're receiving it in real time. And as you respond to what's being revealed, you'll discover that the next level isn't something you reach, it's something you walk into because you've been transformed enough to carry it. You're no longer asking, "Am I ready?" The shift has already happened. Readiness is no longer a question, it's a reality. So continue, not because you have all the answers, but because you are anchored in something far greater than certainty. Trust. Trust that where this journey is taking you is exactly where your presence will ignite purpose, where your gifts will make room, and where your heart will find home. This is not a guessing game. This is a guided unfolding. And you are exactly where you need to be for what's about to be revealed. Something extraordinary is forming just beneath the surface, waiting for the right alignment to emerge. This moment, though it may seem quiet, is rich with preparation. What's coming next isn't simply a continuation, it's a divine unveiling. Pieces you never imagined would fit together are aligning effortlessly, and connections that once felt out of reach are drawing near with undeniable precision. Here's an atmosphere around you now that carries anticipation. Not the kind that demands quick answers, but the kind that respects the sacred timing of revelation. It's the kind of anticipation that teaches you to breathe deeply and stand still, not from passivity, but from profound awareness. You can sense something is shifting, but it's not rooted in emotion, it's grounded in discernment. You know, without being told, that something significant is about to emerge. You won't have to force what's coming. You won't have to manipulate or convince or strive. What's destined to appear will rise naturally, like the morning sun, unhurried, but unstoppable. There is a weight to this revelation, but it won't feel heavy. It will feel like clarity settling into the spaces that used to be filled with questions. It will bring answers not just to what's next, but to why the path behind had to unfold the way it did. You'll begin to see how nothing was wasted. The delays, the closed chapters, the painful pauses, they all contribute into what is being uncovered. Had you rushed, had you forced an earlier arrival, the beauty of this revelation would have been compromised. But now, because you waited, because you remained grounded, you will receive the full picture, not the fragment, not the preview, but the whole vision as it was always meant to be experienced. This next stretch of the journey isn't about searching, it's about receiving. You've done the inner work. You've navigated the unseen terrain of refinement. You've let go of what couldn't grow with you. Now, you are in the posture to receive without resistance. And with every unfolding, a new layer of purpose will come alive. This is not an ordinary season. It's a sacred encounter with fulfillment. Be attentive to what begins surfacing in conversations, moments, and seemingly small details. Often, what carries the most significance arrives wrapped in simplicity. That is how revelation works. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, testing whether you're willing to pause long enough to notice. And you are. That stillness you've cultivated has prepared you to catch what others overlook. New insight will find you when you least expect it. You may wake up with clarity you didn't fall asleep with. You may speak truth you didn't rehearse. You may walk into a space and feel a sense of belonging without a single word spoken. These are not anomaly. They're signals that you are being led by something deeper than sight. You've been recalibrated to respond to presence over pressure. Let what comes surprise you. Release the urge to define everything before it arrives. Some blessings defy categories. Some provisions won't look the way you envision them, but they'll exceed every hidden expectation. The unveiling might not answer every question immediately, but it will confirm what your spirit already knew. You were never waiting in vain. Continue moving without haste, yet with assurance. What's ahead doesn't require speed, it requires awareness. And you have it now. You have the eyes to see what once seemed hidden, the heart to hold what once felt too weighty, and the spirit to steward what's being entrusted to you. The curtain is lifting. The scene is set. What's about to be revealed carries more than breakthrough, it carries legacy. This is the kind of moment that shifts generations, not just seasons. What you're stepping into has been written with care, timed with perfection, and prepared in silence. Now, the silence is giving way to substance. Be present. Be watchful. What's coming next will not just change your surroundings, it will elevate everything about the way you walk, speak, and live. You are standing at the edge of unveiling, and nothing will ever be the same. When a threshold like this appears, it doesn't come dressed in noise, it enters with weight. A quiet, undeniable shift that rearranges everything it touches. You can feel it now, not in your mind alone, but deep in the core of who you are. Something irreversible has begun. There's no going back to what once was, not because it's no longer available, but because you've outgrown it. The transformation within has rendered the old version of your life too small to contain the magnitude of what's being born. Crossing this threshold doesn't demand performance. It requires presence, awareness, a willingness to step forward without rehearsing how it will all unfold. You're not being asked to leap blindly. You're being invited to walk with intention, knowing that every step you take from here carries impact far beyond what you can measure. The atmosphere is changing to match your readiness, and you no longer need external validation to confirm what your spirit already affirms. You will begin to notice your environment responding differently. What once felt like resistance will begin to feel like support. What previously echoed with confusion will quiet into clarity. It won't always be explained, it will simply be undeniable. Things will click. Conversations will align. Decisions that once felt complex will suddenly feel obvious. This is not coincidence, it's alignment. The outer world is beginning to reflect the order that has formed within you. No longer trapped in cycles of hesitation, you now have permission to choose boldly. Not from fear of missing out, but from the confidence that whatever aligns with your deeper calling will rise to meet you. You've learned how to say yes with full heart and no with peace. That's wisdom. That's freedom. And it will become your compass as new doors swing open. You won't need to knock on every opportunity. The ones meant for you will recognize your arrival. They've been waiting to. These doors don't open through striving, they open through alignment. They will require you to shapeshift or diminish. You'll walk through them as your whole self healed, focused, and unshaken. What greets you on the other side will be an extension of what you've allowed to form inside. There may still be moments that feel uncertain. That's expected. But uncertainty no longer carries the same power. It used to paralyze. Now it prompts curiosity. You're learning that not every unknown is a threat, some are invitations to deeper trust. And that trust is becoming second nature. No longer force. No longer fragile. It's sturdy now. It can hold what's coming. Keep listening to the subtle confirmations. A sudden wave of peace. A sentence spoken by someone who doesn't know your situation, yet their words echo an answer you've been waiting for. A path that seems to form in front of you only after you take the first step. These are not small. They are sacred. They are the language of the threshold, the signs that you're no longer where you were, but not quite where you're going. You're in the middle of a divine exchange. Allow the unveiling to happen at its own pace. Don't rush it. Don't try to force clarity before it's time. What's being revealed needs space to breathe. Let it rise. Let it show you things you didn't even know you needed. And when it does, don't shrink. Don't second guess. Receive it as one who has been prepared. Because you have. This next stretch is about expansion. Not just externally, but internally. Your capacity to hold vision, to walk with purpose, to live without apology is growing. It's not about being loud. It's about being full. Full of integrity, presence, purpose. And from that fullness, new things will be birthed: ideas, relationships, provisions, and legacy. You're not stepping into a single blessing, you're stepping into a flow that will run dry. So step forward with reverence, with eyes wide open and heart fully engaged. The unveiling isn't a moment, it's a movement. It has begun, and nothing around you will stay the same, including you. What is happening now can't be confined to a single breakthrough or one turning point. It's not an event with a fixed time and place. This is a divine sequence, a continuous release of what was once hidden, now gradually stepping into the light. Every shift, every insight, every confirmation is part of a larger flow. You're not watching something unfold. You're inside it, moving with it, becoming more of who you were always meant to be. Momentum like this carries a language of its own. It speaks through timing, reveals through alignment, and confirms through peace. You're beginning to understand that life no longer feels fragmented. It's becoming cohesive. The once scattered pieces are now merging into something whole. It's not about perfection. It's about integration, where your story, your growth, your calling, and your vision are no longer pulling in different directions. They're working together, forming a rhythm that sustains rather than exhausts. You'll notice how the striving has ceased. Not because there's nothing left to do, but because what you do now flows from identity, not insecurity. There's a calm steadiness to your pace that others may not comprehend. That's okay. You're not obligated to explain your posture to those still caught in cycles of urgency. The stillness you carry now is misunderstood by those unfamiliar with peace. But it's that same stillness that will serve as a beacon for those desperate to escape noise and confusion. As the movement unfolds, it will begin to touch things you haven't even prayed for yet. Why? Because this unveiling isn't limited by what you could imagine. It's reaching beyond your current vision, unlocking doors that require no begging, only readiness. What's coming won't look like what you've seen before, because you've entered a new dimension of trust. In this dimension, there's no room for fear disguised as logic or hesitation masked as wisdom. This is where you walk, not to figure it out but to witness what's been waiting. This movement will change the way you respond to delay. What used to discourage now teaches you to pause and listen. You're learning to let silence speak. You're beginning to see pauses as preparation, not punishment. This maturity gives you power, the kind that doesn't shout, but holds space for what's holy. You don't rush through process anymore. You honor it. Because you understand that delay can be a doorway, and what you learn while you wait is just as important as what you receive when it arrives. The unveiling will also test your discernment, not to break you, but to build your confidence in the quiet ways I speak. Everything that looks like opportunity won't carry your name. You'll feel the difference now, not through doubt, but through dissonance. When something isn't for you, you will no longer entertain it. You'll bless it and move on. Not from arrogance, but from awareness. You know that anything not tied to your destiny will only dilute your focus. Expect confirmation in unexpected ways. A message you weren't searching for. An encounter that feels divinely timed. A moment where peace covers you without explanation. These small signals are not to be dismissed. They are evidence that the movement continues, even when your surroundings seem still. Trust them. Follow their trail. They are part of the choreography unfolding all around you. This chapter will require explanations. The fruit will speak for itself. The transformation will be obvious not because you sought to prove anything, but because change can't be hidden when it's real. Those who once overlooked you may take notice. Those who doubt it may come with questions. But you're not responsible for their awakening. Stay focused on yours. Let your life be the sermon you don't need to preach. Stay anchored in this flow. The movement will not cease. It will evolve. It will stretch. It will live. And you, fully awake and entirely present, will move with it, no longer questioning whether you're qualified, but fully aware that this was always part of the design. Awareness like this changes everything. It doesn't simply inform your thoughts, it alters your presence. You no longer enter rooms uncertain of your place. You carry a sense of belonging that is quiet yet unshakable. It's not pride. It's not performance. It's the settled understanding that you've been woven into something that's bigger than you, yet made space for only you to fulfill. As this movement continues, the alignment will become more refined. You will no longer be drawn to what merely feels familiar, you will be drawn to what feeds your spirit. Some connections will deepen, others will drift. Not every relationship can evolve with the level of clarity you've been given. Let it happen without resistance. Those who are meant to walk with you through this phase will not require explanation to see your growth. They'll recognize it, honor it, and rise with it. You'll find that the further you move in this flow, the more unnecessary weight falls off. Habits, assumptions, attachments, they'll quietly fade, not through force but through replacement. New desires will begin to bloom. What used to entertain you will feel hollow. What once distracted you will no longer draw your focus. This isn't loss, it's liberation. You're shedding layers that were never meant to stay. There's something liberating about walking with nothing to prove. The pressure to perform, to convince, to meet expectations that were never yours to carry it no longer lingers. What's replaced it is authenticity. A raw, open, and honest way of living that doesn't require external applause to feel meaningful. You're living from the inside out now, and that shift will reshape everything around you. Each moment you step forward in truth, you'll notice how provision starts meeting you differently. Not as a reward for effort, but as a response to obedience. You won't have to stretch yourself thin to receive what is yours. It will come because you're aligned, not because you're striving. This new rhythm honors your soul. It invites you to rest in your purpose instead of wrestling with it. There's no longer a need to second-guess every turn. You've grown past needing signs at every corner. The path ahead may not always be lit in full, but there's enough light for the step in front of you. And that is enough. You are learning to walk with assurance even in the unseen. Not because you know every answer, but because you're anchored in the one who does. Clarity is taking root in how you speak, how you respond, and how you show up. You're not rushing into the noise, you're moving with intention. You're learning when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to wait. That kind of wisdom is rare, and it's what sets apart those who are building something that lasts from those chasing moments that pass. In this unfolding, you'll discover opportunities that match not only your skills, but your spirit. Assignments that feel like home. Spaces that don't drain, but expand you. People who don't compete, but collaborate. It's the power of living from alignment. Everything you need to fulfill your purpose begins to find you. It's not about chasing. It's about attracting from a place of wholeness. Let the quiet continue to guide you. Not every step forward will be loud. Not every revelation will arrive enlightening. Some of the most significant changes will come like a whisper, carried in the gentleness of grace. These moments are precious. They are personal, and they hold power that cannot be replicated by performance or noise. Remain steady in this memento. Let each day reveal what it's meant to show. You don't need to rush this season. It's not a sprint, it's a sacred unfolding. And every step you take confirms this truth more deeply. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are in sync with something eternal, and it's only just beginning to show its fullness. The beginnings of what lasts often arrive without fanfare. They don't need volume to make an impact. What's rising now within you is quiet but undeniable. It's the kind of strength that doesn't ask for attention, it simply exists, steady and sure. This depth wasn't built overnight. It was carved over time, in private battles, silent prayers, and choices no one saw but heaven honored. And now, all of that has started to reveal its true purpose. There's a sacred unfolding occurring in your awareness. You're beginning to see with new eyes. The same surroundings no longer hold the same meaning. What once blended into the background now stands out with detail and purpose. That's what happens when you shift from surviving to discerning. Life becomes less about reaction and more about recognition. You're recognizing significance in places you once overlooked. You're sensing movement in spaces you thought were still. With this awareness comes a new level of responsibility, not heavy or burdensome, but sacred. It's not about caring more, it's about caring wisely. You no longer waste energy where it's not meant to flow. Your focus has narrowed, not out of fear but out of clarity. The more you understand what matters, the more you're willing to walk away from what doesn't. This is how purpose sharpens itself, through the pruning of what no longer aligns. Don't be surprised when your presence begins to shift the atmosphere. You're not doing anything performative. You're just being. But who you are now carries a weight, a stability, a tone that others can feel. Your stillness speaks. Your decisions echo. Even your silence leaves an imprint. That's the mark of transformation. It lingers, even after you've left the room. You'll find yourself moving differently, not out of caution, but out of intention. You're not rushing to fill space. You're waiting for space to invite you. And when it does, you'll know. You won't need confirmation from outside voices. There will be a settled conviction within. That conviction isn't based on logic or emotion, it's rooted in trust. Trust in what's been built. Trust in what's been promised. Trust in what's quietly becoming visible. New alignments are emerging, shaped not by convenience but by calling. These connections won't feel forced. They won't drain you. They will feel like rest in motion. Mutual. Energizing. Rooted in something deeper than surface-level agreement. You won't have to explain yourself. You'll simply be known. And in those relationships, you'll find the strength to stretch further without breaking. Provision will take on a new form. No longer bound to one stream or one solution. You'll see resources come from places you never expected. You're not being rewarded, you're being supported. Supported because what you carry is meant to live, to grow, to reach others. And the one who entrusted it to you is committed to ensuring it doesn't falter from lack. So you can release the fear of running out. There is more coming, because more is needed. As each day passes, you'll notice your inner world expanding. Not with noise, but with depth. You'll crave stillness not to escape, but to listen. You'll welcome quiet because it brings you closer to what matters. In those moments, ideas will form, clarity will sharpen, and direction will emerge. You're not seeking answers anymore, you're receiving understanding. That shift changes how you live, how you create, and how you lead. This season is not about proving worth. It's about walking in it. The doors opening now are not tests. They are invitations. Invitations to occupy, to plant, to multiply, not because you've earned it, but because you've been prepared. And as you respond with courage, more will be revealed, not instantly, but faithfully. Layer by layer. Step by step. Stay rooted in that rhythm. Let it guide your responses, your planning, your pace. There's no rush to arrive because you've already stepped into what matters most, alignment with what is real, holy, and enduring. And from here, every movement forward becomes a declaration. This is not the end. This is only the beginning of something far-reaching, life-giving, and undeniably eternal. What's beginning now won't simply touch your present, it's reaching into places your imagination has yet to explore. It's not confined by circumstance or limited by what has been. It stretches beyond personal gain, beyond individual moments of favor. This is the kind of beginning that sets movements into motion, the kind that alters atmospheres wherever it lands. You are no longer stepping into isolated outcomes. You are stepping into continuity where every act of obedience links to something greater. The evidence will not always appear instantly. Some days will feel quiet, almost unremarkable. But don't underestimate the power of the unseen. Just as roots grow in silence before anything is visible above the soil, so too are the foundations being reinforced beneath the surface of your life. These early stages are delicate, but they are not weak. They are sacred. They hold the DNA of what's to come. Protect them with intention. This isn't the kind of growth that requires attention from crowds. It's not designed to impress. It's built to last. It's made of the substance that endures pressure, weathers uncertainty, and carries peace in the middle of contradiction. Your role now is not to rush the process, but to honor it. To treat each moment like a seed, knowing that what you nurture today will determine what multiplies tomorrow. You'll begin to sense new layers of responsibility forming, not out of duty, but out of devotion. What has been entrusted to you carries weight, and that weight is not a burden, it's a marker of trust. You're not here to simply witness change. You're here to initiate it. The way you speak, the way you create, the way you stand in truth without apology, these are no longer small gestures. They are catalysts, and heaven is responding. This new space will ask more of you, not in exhaustion but in refinement. You'll be called to greater clarity, deeper compassion, and unwavering courage. Not all moments will feel convenient, but they will feel right. There will be times when your yes will make no sense to others, but it will make perfect sense to your spirit. Those are the assignments that stretch you into new dimensions of purpose. You may not always see the full impact of your obedience, but trust that ripple effects are already in motion. Words you release will echo in places you will never visit. Seeds you plant will bloom in fields you may never walk. That's the nature of something eternal. It transcends timelines, defies limitations, and continues long after the moment has passed. Don't minimize what you're building simply because the audience isn't visible. Some of the most world-shifting work happens in silence. You're no longer just carrying a promise, you're becoming part of its fulfillment. Your actions, however ordinary they may feel, are being woven into a narrative that stretches generations. And the beautiful truth is this: you don't have to figure out how it all fits. You're not the architect, you're the vessel. Your job is not to strategize the outcome, but to remain faithful in the moment. Stay sensitive to the patterns forming around you. Certain conversations will carry more meaning than their words suggest. Certain paths will reappear not as detours but as confirmations. You'll find yourself drawn to spaces that stretch you, and strangely enough, they will also feel like home. That's alignment. When growth and peace meet in the same place, you'll know you're on the right course. Let this beginning be different. Don't measure it by old milestones. Don't limit it with past expectations. Let it breathe. Let it rise without comparison. What's emerging through you isn't a replica, it's original. It's been shaped through fire, through waiting, through surrender. And now that it's here, it deserves your full attention. So walk into this unfolding without hesitation. Don't dilute the magnitude of what's taking place. You've been prepared, refined, and entrusted. And now, the beginning is no longer ahead of you, it's happening through you. What you carry is alive, and what you release will continue moving, long after you've let it go. There's a sacred mystery in the way impact unfolds. Often, you will not see the full extent of what your presence plants. The seeds you sow through your faith, your kindness, your obedience don't always bloom where you can watch. But they grow. They multiply. They touch hearts and shape moments far beyond your view. And that's the beauty of what's been entrusted to you. It's not limited by your reach. It carries momentum of its own. This is the mark of something that carries eternal weight. It doesn't rely on visibility to be valuable. You're no longer building for applause. You're building for legacy. And legacy is not measured in noise. It's measured in consistency, in quiet faithfulness, in decisions made when no one's watching. That's where the real work happens. Not in the spotlight, but in the steady light of alignment. What you've chosen to carry has outgrown small containers. It's not meant to stay hidden. But its release doesn't need to be loud, it needs to be pure. It needs to be surrendered. Every time you step forward, speak truth, or create from a place of purpose, you're releasing something that will travel further than your voice ever could. And it will land exactly where it's needed. You'll begin to notice moments where you don't have to try so hard. The push to make things happen will fall away, replaced by quiet knowing that what flows from authenticity carries its own path forward. You don't need to force doors open. You don't need to chase outcomes. Your only responsibility is to remain faithful in how you steward what you've been given. Some of what you release now may not bring immediate results, but don't let that discourage you. Think of rain falling into soil. It disappears for a time, but something begins beneath the surface. The same is true for your words, your sacrifices, your unseen work. It is not forgotten. It is not wasted. It is planted. And in time, it will produce more than you thought possible. Stay open to the reality that many of your assignments will not circle back with recognition. The results may not return in familiar packaging, but they will return. Perhaps in the form of someone else's breakthrough. Perhaps through the shift in a generation you'll never meet. This is what it means to serve a higher purpose, to trust that your faithfulness echoes even when your name is never attached. And in that trust, there is peace. A calm assurance that you are part of something far beyond yourself. You are contributing to movements that will ripple through lives, through time, through eternity. You won't always know the full effect, but you will know the source. And that knowing will be enough to keep you grounded, even when results remain unseen. This kind of living changes the posture of your heart. You'll stop asking, "What will I get from this?" and start asking, "What am I meant to give here?" That question opened up new dimensions of vision. It clears distractions. It releases the need to control. It gives space for divine creativity to breathe through you. And what comes out of that space will not just be good, it will be transformative. You'll learn to release what you carry with joy, not fear, knowing it's not up to you to keep it alive. You're not the source, you're the vessel. Your hands were made to pour, not to possess. And as you continue pouring, you'll find that the well within you never runs dry. It deepens. It widens. It expands. Because you're no longer trying to be impressive, you're trying to be faithful. And that shift changes everything. So when you release what's inside you, whether a word, a gesture, a vision, or a step of faith, know this: it doesn't fall to the ground. It travels. It moves. It lands. And it grows, not by your effort, but by divine design. What leaves your hands in obedience never stops moving, and its impact will outlive the moment it was given. There's a sacred flow released the moment you act in alignment. Even if your gesture feels small, even if the action seems insignificant at the time, it begins to create a ripple that does not return empty. Obedience is not just about completing a task, it's about activating a divine chain reaction. Each time you follow the prompting within, you step into a sequence that continues long after you've moved on. You may never fully see how far your decisions travel, but their effects are real. The quiet words you spoke in courage may be the very ones someone else needed to rise. That offering you gave without recognition may be the seed that transformed an entire situation. You're not called to measure how much changes, you're called to trust that change begins when you respond. And in this season, your response holds weight. It's no longer driven by pressure or obligation. You've been refined through time and fire. And now, what flows from you carries purity, not performance. That purity makes what you give powerful. There's no longer a mixture of motives, only willingness. That willingness opens doors even effort couldn't reach. As you continue, you'll notice how momentum increases with every yes. Not just external movement, but internal clarity. You'll no longer hesitate at every crossroad. The more you say yes from a place of peace, the more your confidence will grow, not because you have control, but because you've released the need to have it. That release will feel like freedom, and that freedom will make space for more than you imagined. This is where the pace changes, not faster through force, but smoother through surrender. The burdens you used to carry begin to lift. Not because the path is easy, but because you're no longer carrying what you weren't meant to. Simplicity begins to emerge. You'll stop over-explaining, over-analyzing, overthinking. You'll start moving with trust as your foundation and peace as your guide. There will be invitations disguised as interruptions. Unexpected moments that seem inconvenient may actually hold the next key. Stay sensitive. Stay flexible. What's divine doesn't always arrive in polished packaging. Sometimes, it looks like a detour but leads directly into destiny. And when it does, your spirit will recognize it, not because it fits your plan, but because it stirs something unmistakable inside you. You are no longer building something temporary. The work your hands are doing now is rooted in longevity. It's not just about finishing assignments, it's about preparing something that can be carried forward. You're not planting for a single season. You're laying the foundation for others to continue what begins with you. Let that awareness anchor you. It will keep you from rushing. It will hold you steady when things feel unclear. You'll begin to approach each day not as a task to complete, but as a moment to shape. And that shift will affect how you speak, how you walk, how you show up in every space. You'll carry purpose even in silence, presence even in transition, assurance even in the unknown. And though you may sometimes feel hidden, you're not forgotten. Being unseen isn't punishment, it's preservation. Certain things need to grow in quiet before they can stand in the open. You are in the stage where hidden strength is forming, where inner roots are thickening, where substance is taking shape beneath the surface. When the time comes to be visible, what you reveal will not be shallow. You will be full, deep, and unshakable. Keep releasing what flows through you. Don't hold back, even when it feels like no one notices. Heaven notices, and heaven multiplies what is offered in trust. What starts as obedience becomes provision. What begins as surrender becomes strategy. And all of it continues moving forward, carried by grace, long after your hands have let it go. Once something is released with the right intention, it no longer belongs to the moment, it belongs to the mission. What you've offered up in quiet obedience isn't floating aimlessly, it's being carried into spaces where it's needed most. Grace becomes its guide. It touches hearts you will never meet. It reaches situations beyond your scope. And still, it holds the original essence of your surrender. That's the extraordinary nature of what's being built through you. It's not confined to where you are. It expands. Not through ambition, but through alignment. The more you let go of control, the more effective the impact becomes. You'll begin to sense the depth of that truth not through external noise, but through internal stillness. You'll know, without needing proof, that what left your hands is in divine motion. There's no need to trace every outcome. You don't have to monitor what you've released. Its journey is sacred, watched over by hands much greater than yours. Let that free you. Let it lift the pressure you once placed on yourself to manage everything. The process doesn't need your perfection, it requires your permission. The moment you surrendered, heaven took responsibility for the outcome. This is where peace finds its place, not as a temporary relief, but as a permanent rhythm. You no longer wrestle to figure everything out. You discovered a new cadence, one that doesn't rush, doesn't panic, doesn't perform. It simply moves with assurance. That rhythm keeps you grounded, even as life shifts. It teaches you that fulfillment isn't a result, it's a way of being. You're no longer striving to arrive, you're living from a place that recognizes you're already within the unfolding. The journey isn't linear, and it's not always visible. But it's constant. That constancy is a gift. It creates space to rest without losing direction. You'll notice how your thoughts become quieter, how your reactions soften, how your presence deepens. You're not living on edge anymore. You're living from center. Expect new layers of wisdom to rise, not from study alone, but from lived experience. What once confused you will begin to make sense. Patterns will appear. Connections will emerge. And you'll realize that what felt random was actually precision wrapped in mystery. Everything had a role. Even the unanswered moments. Even the empty spaces. They were all part of shaping who you are becoming now. You'll carry this wisdom in subtle ways. It will always show in your words. It will show in how you handle pressure, how you navigate change, how you treat those who can't repay you. It will be evident in your patience, in your discernment, in the way you protect your peace. That kind of wisdom isn't taught, it's cultivated. And you've done the work to grow it. This unfolding will also awaken new desires, not shallow wishes, but deeply rooted visions that match your current depth. You'll find yourself owning not just for results, but for resonance. You'll be drawn to what mirrors your inner alignment. And because of that, your yes will be stronger, and your no will be clearer. This clarity will guide you with grace, not guilt. Don't be surprised if more is entrusted to you. What you've proven capable of carrying in private will begin to show in public spaces, not for the sake of being seen, but for the purpose of reaching more. Expansion will come not as a flood, but as a steady rise, one door at a time, one divine moment at a time, and you'll step into each with the confidence of someone who has nothing to prove, but everything to offer. Let your focus remain on staying faithful, not forecasting. You are not called to predict every twist, you are called to be present for each turn. The journey itself is becoming a testimony, Every move forward is writing a story that others will one day read as permission to keep going. And the most powerful parts, they will not come from what you gain, but from what you gave. So keep releasing. Keep trusting. Keep walking. Grace is still carrying everything you've offered, and its destination is still unfolding. There's a holy patience required when the destination hasn't fully revealed itself. You've planted, you've poured, you've persisted, yet the full picture remains partially hidden. But make no mistake, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't forming. Just because you haven't touched it yet doesn't mean it isn't within reach. The space between release and realization is not a void, it's a sanctuary. A sacred stretch of time where what's meant for you is maturing, while you are being made ready to receive it. You're not idle in this space. You're not waiting in vain. You're learning how to hold expectancy without frustration, how to remain hopeful without demanding, how to trust without needing every answer. That balance is not weakness, it's spiritual strength. It's the quiet confidence of someone who understands that timing is not a barrier, but a builder. And what it's building in you is as valuable as what's being prepared around you. You'll begin to notice that the pressure to prove yourself has vanished. You're no longer in a rush to showcase fruit because you've come to understand how deeply rooted your process truly is. You're becoming someone who values depth over display, quality over speed, truth over approval. And because of that, what's forming in your life won't be temporary, it will be sustainable. Built not on noise but on foundation. There's a shift happening even in your desires. You're not asking for things just to feel accomplished anymore. You're seeking alignment. You want what's right, not just what's available. You crave direction that brings peace, not just motion that brings attention. This kind of clarity doesn't come overnight. You arrive slowly, steadily, through seasons of surrender. And now that you have it, you protect it with discernment and grace. People around you may not fully grasp what you're becoming. That's okay. You weren't designed to be universally understood. You were designed to be divinely aligned. There will be moments when the unfamiliarity of your path causes others to question, but don't let their uncertainty shake your steadiness. Your journey was never built for their validation, it was crafted for your transformation. It wobbing with quiet conviction. The results will speak in time. Each step now is less about striving and more about stewarding. You're no longer trying to create outcomes through sheer effort. You've entered a place where the most powerful movements happen through still obedience, where resting in what's true produces more than pushing ever could. You've learned that the soil of surrender grows better things than the soil of stress. So you're choosing to trust the ground you've been placed on. What's coming next will not demand more performance, it will require deeper presence. And you're ready for that. You've developed the capacity to hold vision without losing your footing. You've discovered how to stretch without snapping, how to bend without breaking. That resilience is evidence of growth, not just in what you can do, but in who you've become. As the unfolding continues, opportunities will find their way to you not because you chased them, but because you made room. That space you cleared through prayer, through sacrifice, through silence, it will not remain empty. It's being filled, not just with answers but with abundance. And not just for your benefit, but for those whose lives your obedience will touch. You're not just receiving, you're preparing to release even more. Let this truth anchor you. Nothing offered with an open heart ever goes unnoticed. No prayer whispered in the night disappears. No act of unseen faithfulness is ever wasted. Every moment, every movement, every offering has been gathered into the unfolding story. And the story isn't slowing down. It's gaining momentum. Heaven is not done. You are not finished. The destination is still ahead, but so is the miracle you never saw coming. So continue moving gently, boldly, purposefully. There is more being written within you, through you, around you. The unfolding hasn't reached its conclusion. In fact, it's just starting to show what it was always meant to become. There's something extraordinary about this phase, not because it's loud or obvious, but because it's alive. The signs are subtle yet steady. What once felt hidden is now beginning to take form. There's no need to force anything. What's emerging was always meant to arrive on its own terms, in its own way, at the exact moment your heart became ready to receive it. You may feel the shift more than you see it. You'll recognize it not in sudden eruptions, but in the way peace has settled in your decisions, how purpose is no longer something you chase but something you carry. You're not waiting for permission anymore. You've crossed that threshold. And now, you're walking in an awareness that allows you to participate in what is being shaped not from the outside in, but from the inside out. There's a maturity rising in you, one that no longer needs constant signs to stay the course. You've tasted enough truth to stay grounded even when clarity hasn't arrived. You trust what's being built because you trust the foundation it stands on. That kind of trust doesn't appear overnight. It's forged through unseen obedience, through nights of wrestling and days of quiet resolve. And now, it's becoming the lens through which you interpret everything around you. Because of that lens, you're seeing things differently. The very things that once discouraged you now teach you. Delays don't feel like punishments, they feel like protection. Endings no longer feel like failures, they feel like pivots. You're not trying to control outcomes. You're learning to respond with faith instead of fear. And that change, though it may go unnoticed by others, is everything. There's a new kind of energy fueling you. It doesn't burn out. It's not dependent on adrenaline or external results. It's sustained by meaning. And when something is meaningful, it doesn't need to be validated, it simply lives. That's what's happening inside you now. Your life is beginning to speak in ways that words cannot. You're becoming a message that others can feel just by being near. Don't underestimate what's taking shape. Though it may still feel early, the structure is already sound. The bones of this season are strong. They are built with endurance, layered with discernment, and sealed with the kind of love that doesn't demand perfection to move. What's ahead may still unfold gradually, but it will unfold with power. You don't need to brace yourself, you just need to remain open. You'll notice how doors begin to appear without you knocking. That's not coincidence, it's design. As alignment deepens, you'll start stepping into what once required striving. Connections will come without explanation. Favor will find you without fanfare. And through it all, you won't feel the need to explain how it happened. You'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. It was preparation meeting purpose. The unfolding will not demand that you abandon who you are. On the contrary, it will ask you to embrace it fully. You won't be asked to shrink or soften your truth to make others comfortable. Instead, you'll be invited to live from the most honest version of yourself, the one shaped through refinement, not reaction. And in that honesty, you'll find a freedom you've never known before. As you continue, you'll begin to realize that not every moment requires action. Some moments ask you to witness, to observe what's rising, to sit with what's forming, to watch the story breathe without rushing to write the ending. Deep of these are not interruptions, they are invitation. They are opportunities to let stillness do what movement never could. Remain present. Don't look too far ahead. The beauty of this moment is that it's still becoming. You're not late to the miracle. You're right on time for the awakening. What's unfolding isn't here to impress, it's here to transform. And you're not watching it happen from the outside, you're the vessel it's choosing to flow through. There's a quiet power in knowing you're no longer standing at a distance, hoping to be included. You're not peering through the window of someone else's breakthrough, you've been invited to the center of the movement. This isn't about being elevated, it's about being entrusted. And with that trust comes something even more sacred: participation. You're no longer the observer. You're the one through whom the unseen is being made visible. You're carrying something that cannot be measured by appearance. It's not reflected in numbers, titles, or applause. What rests upon you now is weighty with purpose, yet gentle in its rhythm. It doesn't demand attention to prove itself, it simply exists, steady and constant, like a current beneath the surface. And that current is beginning to shape everything you touch. As this flow moves through you, don't be surprised if what once felt impressive now feels empty. The desire for recognition has faded, not out of bitterness, but because fulfillment has replaced it. You've discovered that the real treasure isn't in being seen, it's in being used. Used to lift, to heal, to pour, to build. Used without needing credit. Used without expecting praise. That kind of offering leaves a mark that lasts longer than the moment. You'll begin to sense things others miss. A moment of pain behind someone's smile. An opportunity hiding in inconvenience. A deeper meaning behind everyday circumstances. It's not intuition, it's spiritual awareness. You've been tuned to a frequency that cuts through noise and reaches into what's real. And that awareness won't make you arrogant, it will make you tender. You're no longer reacting, you're responding. Responding to nudges that don't come from logic. Promptings that rise unannounced but leave you with no doubt. Your heart has become a meeting place for divine instruction. You may not always understand the why, but you no longer need to. You learned that obedience often comes before clarity, and peace often walks ahead of proof. Your journey no longer feels disjointed. Every experience, every lesson, every detour has started to align. Not because they were perfect, but because they were purposeful. Even the chapters you would have skipped, even the nights you thought broke you, now they echo with meaning. Now you see that they weren't setbacks, they were shaping. And what they shaped was never fragile. It was resilient. You've become someone who can carry what matters. Not just blessings but burdens. Not just answers but presence. You know how to sit in silence without needing to fix. You know how to stand in a room without taking up space. You know how to lead without needing a platform. That posture can't be taught, it's earned through process. And now, it's yours. Don't underestimate the reach of what flows from you now. A single word released in truth can mend what years of noise could not. A simple act of kindness, done without announcement, can shift the atmosphere in ways unseen. You're not operating from strategy anymore, you're moving from alignment. And alignment will take you further than effort ever could. There will be moments when you wonder if your offering is enough, if your presence really matters, if your quiet contribution makes a difference. In those moments, remember this: you were never called to fill a role, you were called to be a bridge. A bridge between what is and what could be. A connector between hearts and hope. A link between the divine and the desperate. And that role, though often invisible, is irreplaceable. Keep letting it flow. Don't dam up the river because others can't see its source. Don't shrink your obedience because it doesn't come with applause. You were made for this flow. You were shaped in silence for this moment. And the impact of what moves through you will stretch further than you'll ever fully know. Influence, when birthed in truth, often travels farther than the one who carries it. What flows from your life doesn't end when the moment passes, it continues, rippling across time, reaching hearts, mending stories, shaping futures. You were never called to measure the reach. You were called to be faithful with the release. And in that faithful release, something miraculous happens. What leaves you multiplies beyond you. You are stepping into a realm where results are not always visible, yet the fruit is undeniable. A realm where the unseen is more powerful than the celebrated. In this place, purpose becomes your compass, not popularity. You're beginning to understand that everything meaningful rarely begins with noise, it begins with intention. And that intention, when carried with reverence, becomes a vessel for transformation. You've crossed into a space where influence doesn't need explanation. It simply flows, without fanfare, without force. And though others may not notice the shift, the spiritual realm has already taken note. Every time you choose love when bitterness is easier, every time you extend grace where judgment would be justified, you create movement. A quiet revolution begins unnoticed by the masses, but recognized by heaven. Let this truth settle in you. Not every harvest will grow where you planted. Some of what you poured out will bloom in fields you've never walked, in lives you will never meet. But it all counts. It all matters. The goodness you sowed in secret will find its way to places that need it most. It's the power of a surrendered life, it's never wasted. This chapter isn't asking for a spotlight. It's asking for integrity. You're being invited to continue, not because everything is confirmed, but because you've seen enough to trust what you can't yet explain. You've learned how to walk through uncertainty with vision. Not blind optimism, but holy expectation, the kind that sees beyond the surface and knows that every unseen act is part of something eternal. In this season, your character is your currency. What you carry in silence is more valuable than anything you could shout. You're not called to impress. You're called to imprint, to leave something lasting in the hearts you encounter. And you're doing just that, not through grandeur, but through presence. Through showing up with your full heart, even when no one claps. That presence is becoming unmistakable. You bring clarity into chaos. You carry stillness into storms. You soften hardened places just by being consistent. You no longer need recognition to validate your role. You've recognized your identity from within. That shift has made you magnetic, not to crowds, but to assignments. You attract purpose now, not attention. And that's exactly how this story was meant to be written. The more you pour out with intention, the more you will be filled with wisdom that surpasses explanation. Answers will come before the questions finish forming. Opportunities will align without the need for pursuit. And when they arrive, you won't feel overwhelmed, you'll feel ready. Not because you rehearsed the moment, but because you remained faithful in moments no one else saw. You're learning to live beyond yourself. To move not just for personal progress, but for kingdom impact. You've realized that obedience opens doors that hustle never could. And those doors, they aren't just for you. They lead to rooms where others will find healing, freedom, and hope, all because you didn't quit when it would have been easier to retreat. So remain faithful to your portion, even when the fruit takes time, even when the reward isn't immediate. You are not laboring in vain. You are not sowing in dry ground. You are planting with eternity in mind, and eternity always answers, sometimes quietly, but always completely. Continue letting the flow move through you. Trust that it knows where it's going. Trust that your hands, your voice, your life are not just participating in change, they are the conduits of it. The impact is still moving, and it's only just begun. Amen.